Watch this. One small change to your push ball timing and placement makes it nearly impossible for your opponent to attack your backspin. Why do your pushes keep getting attacked? That's what we're solving today, how to make your backspin game unpredictable. Let's start from the basics. Even if you can't loop yet, your push can still create real problems for your opponent through placement. Here's the issue most players have. Watch how many people push only to the backhand side. If every push lands in the same spot, of course your opponent will loop you. The racket stays flat. The ball drifts to the same corner every time. So when can you actually move the ball to their forehand? Whether the ball carries topspin or backspin, if your push lands near the sideline on the same side, it's not enough. Watch, even a deep push to that spot gives your opponent time to move over and loop it. You must angle your push diagonally, placing it wide to the far sideline. Now look, to reach that forehand corner, your opponent needs more than one step. And remember what I've taught before, when you change direction to the forehand, don't wait for the ball to drop. If you wait, your opponent times it perfectly and rides the force. To change the line effectively, first stretch the placement wide, then accelerate into the forehand corner. This pattern appears constantly in matches. What does accelerate mean here? Attack at the rising phase. Watch, the ball arrives and I take it on the rise. That ball is very hard to react to. The chance of getting it back is slim. Understand? Stretch the placement wide, then accelerate to the forehand. It's not about speeding up your own body, moving faster yourself doesn't help. Watch, I push one slowly, then try to speed up my swing. It doesn't work. The ball speed is still slow, and my opponent has time. You must take the ball at the rising phase. Watch this ball, I can't even finish my stroke, I can't get down in time. Even if I manage to loop it, there's no quality. So that's placement variation. Now, the second point. Don't launch a strong attack while your opponent is pushing steadily. When your opponent is settled in a push rally, they're working the ball with their hand, adding spin, adding float. If you try to loop that, you'll dump it into the net. The longer the rally goes, the heavier and more deceptive the spin becomes. So you must wait until your opponent is moving, then change. For example, push 3 balls to the backhand, then suddenly redirect one to the middle. That ball, right there, is relatively the easiest ball to loop. During a push rally, the best moment to attack is when your opponent has to move their feet to reach the push. That's when their quality drops. Their push won't be as heavy as when they're standing still and settled. Third point, let me give you an example. When I was younger, I had this exact problem. I didn't dare loop directly, so I'd count pushes and tell myself, after 3, if my opponent doesn't attack, I must. But here's the thing, if you push 2 heavy backspin balls in a row, the third one becomes incredibly difficult to deal with because you've loaded so much spin yourself. The key is that your pushes need spin variation. You need the ability to push heavy backspin and also push no spin. Watch, heavy spin, then a no spin push. See how that last ball sits up? You can attack that freely. No spin doesn't mean just touching the ball passively. It means deliberately reducing the friction on your stroke, pushing through without adding spin. What if I alternate one no spin, one heavy spin? Watch, immediately my opponent's feel is disrupted. They need to adjust, and if they can't adjust in time, they make errors. This is what touch and ball sense really mean. When you give someone a clean backspin push with no mistakes, then follow with a topspin touch, then back to backspin, they'll dump it into the net. The way you handle topspin and backspin is completely different. When those two feelings alternate rapidly, can your opponent switch instantly? Maybe I need 3 balls to adjust. A stronger player might need just 1. But everyone needs some adjustment time, and that transition is so you can vary placement, vary speed, and vary spin. 2 heavy pushes, then 1 no spin. 2 no spin, then 1 heavy, one of each alternating. Your opponent is constantly guessing, and then you find your moment to attack. Here's the thing, you need to read your own spin to prepare your attack. If I push very heavy backspin and it comes back heavy, I should expect a high return and prepare a spin loop. But if I push a no-spin float and it comes back flat, I should prepare a power loop. You must match your attack to the spin you created. When you control the variation, you control what comes back, and then you have confidence in your attack. Remember, in a push rally with slow backspin balls, you don't only have to push deep. You can mix in a short touch to create movement. This short touch doesn't need to be a perfect two-bounce drop. Just take some pace off, deflect the ball softly toward the middle of the table. Watch, I push long, then I play a short one to the middle. Push long again, short one to the middle. See how that pulls my opponent forward? You don't need it impossibly short. Just take a little off, redirect slightly, and draw them into a half-long ball. Once they step in, you loop it. Or they step in and push long, then you loop that. Either way, you've created your opening. Now let's talk about looping against backspin. To have real variation here, you need two abilities. First, no matter where the ball lands, you must be able to generate heavy spin. Watch, my partner pushes one to my forehand. Regardless of placement, I can load up and produce a heavy spin loop. Watch the incoming ball, no matter where it goes. I adjust and apply that spin. That's the first skill. I can get the ball on the table consistently with good spin, but I'm not necessarily blasting it. You have to be able to make the ball reliably first. The second skill is the power loop, the sudden explosive shot. Watch this one. Now, does that look like a quality power loop to you? Notice the difference. The backswing loads deeper, the contact is more forward through the ball, and the whole body drives into the shot. That first type, the consistent spin loop, is your normal loop. It's not ultra powerful, but it's not weak either. It's a solid, reliable ball. Now the power loop is something different. Watch this. See how the ball basically ends the rally in one shot? My opponent can't handle it. The speed, the force, the placement, everything has to be there. That's what makes it a true power loop. Then you need the ability to loop both crosscourt and down the line. A lot of players only loop crosscourt, and that makes their attack incredibly predictable. If you always practice pushing to one spot and always loop diagonally, every opponent knows exactly where the ball is going. Even with perfect technique, you'll be passive. When I trained, my coach would feed one spot and I'd alternate crosscourt, down the line, crosscourt, down the line. Same thing on the backhand side. Watch, crosscourt, then straight, crosscourt, then straight. When you drill both lines consistently, it becomes natural in a match. You can place the ball wherever you want. You have to practice this deliberately, don't just default to the comfortable diagonal every time. After that, once you can move the ball to different lines, you start playing the opponent instead of just playing the ball. Say your opponent pushes and stays planted on one side, you loop crosscourt. But if you see them shift to cover the diagonal, you go down the line. You're reading their weight, reading their position. The moment they commit one direction, the other line opens up. Watch, my partner feeds balls to different spots across the table. I adjust my racket angle and contact point each time. Sometimes I open the face more and brush up for safety. Other times I close the angle, drive more forward, and punch through the ball. The key is I'm choosing the line based on what I see, not out of habit. You need 2 lines minimum, ideally 3. That's how you multiply your scoring options. Regardless of where the ball goes, adjust the force and stroke size yourself. Figure out roughly how much power, maybe 50%, whether the swing is compact or full, backswing large or small, racket face closed or open. First priority, get the attack on the table. Know what a reliable attacking stroke looks like for you. Once you can loop with control, your opponent will fear you. On uncomfortable balls, focus on consistency first. When a real opportunity appears, a half-high ball, a weak return, then commit to full